Hey everybody, this is Tim with Op-Ed Daily. So I'm a little pissed off right now. Baltimore Police Lieutenant Brian Rice acquitted on all charges in Freddie Gray's death. Now I want to say before I get started, I don't think the officers were trying to kill this man. I do believe the officers were trying to rough him up by giving him a rough ride, which apparently is something that's quite common in the Baltimore Police Department, because back in 2005, Donde Johnson Sr. was left as a paraplegic and was awarded $7.4 million because of this, quote, rough ride. And in 2004, Jeffrey Alston was awarded $39 million by a jury after he became paralyzed from the neck down because of this, quote, rough ride. So what is a rough ride? Well, it's when the officer handcuffs you, puts you in the back of one of these police vans, and then drives you around the streets of Baltimore, which apparently are ridden with potholes and all kinds of stuff. According to these people, the ones that were given these huge sums of money because the officers hurt them, permanently, they would hit curbs with the rear tire. They would aim for potholes and could be heard laughing about it. And that the slang, the jargon term, the police term for these rides were called rough rides. They thought it was funny to do these things to people because it hurt them. Now, I don't think that any of these officers wanted to permanently damage any of these people, let alone kill them. But that's a moot point when you think of the fact that you are doing something to another human being that is going to result or can result in death or a permanent injury, and you think it's funny. You find amusement in this rough ride that you're giving somebody in the back. So let's assume for a moment that the officers involved with the Freddie Gray death, let's assume that they didn't give this guy a, quote, rough ride on purpose. Let's assume that they weren't giggling like little schoolgirls in the front seat as they hit curbs and went over potholes. Let's assume they did not do any of that, okay? Let's assume they threw Freddie Gray in the back of this police van, handcuffed, by the way, and drove around Baltimore, and failed to put his seatbelt on, drove around Baltimore, opened the door, and lo and behold, this guy is seriously injured. And a week later, he dies, which is what happened. So let's assume that's the case. They were just driving him back to the precinct or wherever they take their, criminals. Let's assume that happened. Now, he died as a result of one thing, and that was the disregard of police policy. In Baltimore, there's a policy that all suspects or criminals or whatever you want to call them are to be seatbelted in the back of the van. And that policy came as a direct result from all of the millions and millions of dollars that the Baltimore police departments have had to steal from the taxpayers of Baltimore in order to pay these people for permanently injuring them. So it was a police policy for them to buckle people in their seat, but they didn't buckle Freddie Gray in his seat. And as a result of them not following their own policy, he died. He died as a result of them ignoring policy, regardless of what their, the reasons they've come up with to justify what happened. Regardless, that's what happened. Judge Barry Williams, who is African-American, by the way, as was Freddie Gray. To me, this isn't a race issue either. So, but it's, everybody's going to bring that up in the comment section. So I'll just throw that out there that, yes, I am aware. Judge Barry Williams had this to say, quote, "The state failed to show that the defendant even if he was aware of the risk, consciously disregarded that risk. Now, where have we heard that before? Hillary Clinton used that argument. Did she not? Yes, she did. Well, I didn't mean to do it. It wasn't like a malicious thing to steal government documents and put them on my own server for my own personal use. I didn't mean to break the law. I didn't mean to do any of that. So these officers are using the Hillary defense. Well, Judge, we're just officers. We're not really intelligent. And, we don't like to follow rules like the policy that was put in place to protect the people in the back seat of the van. We're officers. We don't have to obey policy. I mean, come on. And besides, I didn't mean to do it. Now, if you or I, assuming you're just a regular person watching this video, if you or I were to place our child in the back seat of our car and said, oh, don't worry, you don't have to buckle yourself up. And our intention is not to harm our child. But knowing the risk, which according to the judge said, even if he was aware of the risk, okay, so knowing the risk of not buckling your child up, if that child ends up dead, what's going to happen to you? What's going to happen to me? We're going to go to jail for a long time for negligent homicide because we neglected to follow procedures, and because of that neglect, our child died as a result, and we would go to jail. But not if you're an officer, not if you are Hillary Clinton or a politician or a judge or any of these other people that are a part of this power structure that is so totalitarian in its very form. So we've got this argument that seems to be so successful in court these days when it comes to police or, politicians or whatever the case is, that, well, come on, guys. I didn't mean to do it. I mean, it's not like I wanted Freddie Gray to die. I'm sure he was a great person. I mean, he ran from us. What do you want us to do? And the reason these cops gave for not buckling him up is because they were worried. Seriously, listen to this. They were worried about how the people watching them put him in this van would look at these officers. Well, we didn't want to taint our image in front of these people, because how would it look if we were taking the extra time that it would take to harness this person in the back? This is what the officers said. I am not kidding you. So because they didn't want onlookers to think badly of them, they take the risk of either making this guy paraplegic, paralyzing him from the waist down or the neck down or wherever, or killing him. They were more worried about their own image than they were about the safety of the person that they are supposed to be protecting. That is a very disturbing thing that's going on nowadays. And this comes right after Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where 3 officers were killed. And if you watch the YouTube videos of the man that killed these officers, allegedly, if you watch the videos, he is saying the very same things that many other people have said time and time again, and that is that police need reform. Police need to be held accountable for the actions that they take. They need to be held accountable for the mistakes that they make. We're all human beings. We get that. And police officers should be given some form of leniency just because of the nature of their job. They do need some leniency, but not this far. They shouldn't be able to disregard policy. They shouldn't be able to disregard safety in order to protect their own image. And they should not ever be able to say, well, I didn't mean to do it. Because how can you prove that anyway. Of course, somebody's going, well, I didn't mean to do it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it. How many times has your child said that to you and you still got onto them anyway? Because it didn't matter if they meant to do it or not. It happened. It's called being cautious. It's called taking steps in order to prevent these things from happening. But nope, not in the police department. Doesn't matter. They're cops. They're above even their own policies. And these judges, whether African American or white, they don't care. They protect their own. That is what they're there for. Police are part of the justice system, as are the judges, as is the mayor, as is everybody else involved with this, including the prosecutor, by the way. So to all of you that, oh, well, they're all black, so, there was no racially motivated charges being dropped. That's not the point, and I think people are missing this. They're missing the point. They're dismissing everything that happens from an officer to another person when the people say, well, they're not racist. It doesn't matter if they're racist or not. I'm not going to assume they're racist just because they happen to kill a black person, because they kill white people too. But the point here is that they have to be held accountable. And if they are not held accountable for the things that they do and the mistakes that they make, then more officers are going to be killed by people that are so sick of it. These people that are crazy, they're on the edge of their seats, and it's just a matter of time before that one thing happens, and that's it. They lose it. And they go off the deep end, and they start shooting innocent police officers, assuming they're innocent. I mean, because randomly killing officers isn't really going to solve anything, obviously. But at the same time, instead of looking at how heinous the acts are that these people are, committing against police officers, you also have to take a look at why. This wasn't happening 10 years ago. Why? Because for the last 10 years, people have been peacefully trying to get reform passed. And guess what? There is a certain point where talking stops and the fists start flying. And I think we've passed that threshold, and it's time for people to stop making this a racial issue so that we can all focus on how to fix it for the safety of the officers, for the safety of the people, and for the safety of everybody. We have to look at it with an eye of not racially, motivated actions, but American motivated actions. We're all Americans here. That's the point. We shouldn't allow our justice system to treat us in this way. We shouldn't let officers off the hook because they didn't mean to do it. Anyway, that's it for now, guys. Please tell me what you think in the comments section. Hit the like and share button and subscribe to my channel for more updates like this. This is Tim with Op-Ed Daily. Peace out.